Hey everyone, and welcome back to our channel, where we ask the biggest what-if questions in history. Today, we re-unplugging from our modern world to ask a truly shocking question. What if electricity was never discovered? Close your eyes for a second. No, really, try it. Imagine a world without the glow of your screen, without the hum of the refrigerator, without the simple flick of a light switch. It's a world lit only by fire and stars, a world where the sun dictates the rhythm of our lives. This isn't just a fun thought experiment. It is a deep dive into an alternate reality that would have fundamentally reshaped every aspect of human civilization. How would empires rise and fall? What would science look like? How would you, personally, be living your day-to-day life? For centuries, electricity was just a curiosity, a spark from amber, a jolt from a strange fish. But then, pioneers like Franklin, Volta, and Faraday began to unravel its secrets. Their work ignited the spark of the Industrial Revolution, powering factories, lighting cities, and shrinking the globe with the telegraph. This wasn't just a new technology, it was a new form of power, both literally and figuratively. So, what happens if that spark never catches? What if humanity remained in a pre-electric age? Stick around, because we're about to journey into a darker, quieter, and completely different timeline. Let's explore the world that might have been. Without electricity, the political map of the world would look dramatically different. The British Empire, the empire on which the sun never sets, relied heavily on coal and steam power. But what if that was the absolute peak of technology? Without the telegraph, communication across vast colonial territories would remain agonizingly slow, taking weeks or months. This communication lag would make it incredibly difficult to manage distant colonies effectively. Rebellions and independence movements might find it easier to organize and succeed without the central government being able to respond quickly. Global empires, as we knew them, might have fragmented much earlier or never reached their full extent. In this alternate timeline, nations with vast reserves of coal and easy access to waterways for transport would be the undisputed superpowers. Think of a world where countries like Germany, with its massive coal fields in the Ruhr Valley, or the United States, with its abundant Appalachian coal, become even more dominant. Their industrial and military might would be entirely dependent on steam engines and mechanical power. Warfare would be a gritty, mechanical affair. Imagine massive, steam-powered tanks clanking across battlefields and navies of ironclad ships belching smoke, but with no radar, no radio communication. Generals would be fighting blind, relying on messengers on horseback or steam-powered trains. This could lead to longer, more brutal wars of attrition, as strategic coordination would be a nightmare. Global politics would be a slower, more localized chess game, where influence is projected not at the speed of light, but at the speed of a steamship. The very idea of modern governance would be transformed. Large, centralized federal governments would struggle to project authority. Without mass media like radio or television to broadcast a unified message, national identity might be weaker, with regional loyalties holding more sway. Democracy itself might evolve differently. How do you run a national election campaign when you can't reach millions of people instantly? Political power would likely remain concentrated in the hands of a wealthy industrial elite who control the means of production, the factories, the coal mines, and the railways. The world would be a patchwork of steam-powered kingdoms and republics, constantly vying for mechanical supremacy. Let's switch gears to science and technology. Without electricity, the entire scientific landscape would be almost unrecognizable. The 20th century was defined by discoveries built on an understanding of electromagnetism. Think about it. No electronics, no computers, no internet. Moore's law wouldn't exist. Instead of silicon, the most important material might be brass or steel. Innovation would be mechanical. Imagine brilliant engineers like Charles Babbage succeeding in building their massive, clockwork computers, the analytical engines. These room-sized mechanical brains, powered by steam and programmed with punch cards, would be the pinnacle of information processing. They could perform complex calculations for ballistics, astronomy, and engineering, but they would be behemoths, accessible only to governments and massive corporations. Medical science would be stuck in the 19th century. While we'd still have advancements in sanitation and germ theory, doctors would lack crucial diagnostic tools. No X-rays to see broken bones, no EKGs to monitor hearts, no electronic microscopes to study cells and viruses. Surgery would be a harrowing, lamplit affair, and many of the life-saving procedures we take for granted would be impossible. Life expectancy would likely stagnate. Communication technology would also be purely mechanical or chemical. We'd have highly advanced telegraph systems using pneumatic tubes or complex optical signaling towers, but global, instantaneous communication would remain a dream. Perhaps chemistry would see an accelerated boom, as scientists search for new ways to create light and energy through chemical reactions, leading to incredibly advanced gas lamps or new forms of chemical batteries used for niche, low-power applications. It would be a world of intricate gears, polished brass, and chemical concoctions, a true steampunk reality. So how would this world feel for the average person? Your daily life would be dictated by the sun. You'd wake with the dawn and your day's work would end at dusk. Cities would be dark and dangerous places at night, lit only by flickering gas lamps and the occasional bonfire. The air would be thick with coal smoke, leading to widespread respiratory problems. Without electric-powered mass transit, cities would be more compact, and most people would live their entire lives within a few miles of where they were born. The world would feel much, much bigger. Home life would be a constant chore. No refrigerators mean that preserving food would rely on ancient methods: salting, smoking, canning, and daily trips to the market. Laundry would be done by hand. Entertainment would be a communal, live experience. Instead of Netflix, you'd have vaudeville theaters, public readings, and traveling circuses. Music would be entirely acoustic, performed live in concert halls or by your own family in the living room. The player piano might be the height of home entertainment technology. Social structures could become more rigid. Without the democratizing force of mass media and information access, social mobility might be limited. Your opportunities would be largely determined by the class you were born into. Women's roles might also remain more confined to the domestic sphere, as labor-saving electrical appliances that freed up time for education and careers wouldn't exist. It would be a physically tougher, socially smaller, and culturally more localized existence. Zooming out to the global scale, the long-term consequences are staggering. Without electricity, there is no digital age. The information revolution never happens. This means no space race in the way we know it, because the complex calculations and communications needed for rocketry would be nearly impossible. We might never have walked on the moon. Globalization, as we understand it, a deeply interconnected web of economies and cultures, wouldn't exist. International trade would be slower and more expensive, dominated by a few powerful nations controlling the sea lanes with their coal-powered fleets. Environmental issues would be different, too. While we'd avoid the problems of electronic waste and radiation, the world would be choked by the byproducts of a coal and steam economy. Smog would be a permanent feature of every industrial city, and the environmental damage from relentless coal mining would scar the landscape. Climate change would still be a threat, but driven entirely by carbon dioxide from burning fossil fuels on an unimaginable scale, without the option of shifting to cleaner electric alternatives like solar or wind. The great intellectual and cultural exchanges facilitated by the internet would never occur. Ideas, art, and philosophies would spread slowly, filtered through books and letters. Humanity might be more fragmented, with deeper cultural divides and less understanding of one another. We would live in a world of 1,000 different islands of culture, rather than a global village. So, here we are, at the end of our journey into an alternate, unplugged past. A world without electricity is a world of incredible mechanical ingenuity, but also a world of limitations. It's darker, slower, and more disconnected. Political power would be concentrated, science would follow a completely different path, and daily life would be a relentless cycle of physical labor dictated by the sun. It forces us to appreciate the silent, invisible force that powers our entire modern existence. Every time you turn on a light, send a text, or watch a video like this one, you are tapping into a legacy of discovery that completely remade the human experience. What part of our electric world would you miss the most? And what unforeseen advantages might a purely mechanical world have offered? The questions are as endless as they are fascinating. Thank you so much for joining us on this thought experiment. If you enjoyed this dive into alternate history, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next video. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so head down to the comments and tell us what you think a world without electricity would look like. Until next time, stay curious.